All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer Broach. Guess you'd be Jennifer 1. Because of the three Jennifers, I'm alphabetizing your last names. And so this concludes the recorded portion of our second day of our workshop. We have scheduled now a little bit more question and answer and then a conclusion. Jennifer Hackney Price, has updated the website, and now there are additional tabs that have B resources as well as forensic science resources. I'm really liking the way this interaction has allowed us to give you what you need and allowed you to ask for what you needed and have us give to you. Wanted to say in the chat there, the book that Kim Kobachek was referencing is called Illustrated Guide to Home Forensic Science Experiments, all lab, no lecture. So it's there in the chat. And so let's begin with questions about this last section.
I don't have a question, but I just have a statement. Maybe this will spur some additional questions. When Jen Broach and I were talking about my experiments, my students didn't necessarily have a lot of quantitative data. They had more qualitative data. And so sitting with Jennifer and figuring out, okay, what kind of statistics do they need? What kind of statistics are they going to use? Was very helpful, and this data visualization was very helpful to them as well. So I kind of found in my experience that you didn't necessarily, or one doesn't necessarily need these really complicated statistics, which could also go to say maybe the students who are just getting their feet wet with science, with research, maybe they haven't taken statistics yet. This information that has been created within this iCure, and then also presented by Jennifer Broach, is so helpful, hugely helpful.
Kim, I'm glad you mentioned that, and it's funny because most people and most students think it needs to be super complicated to be research. Yes. You know, like it must need this like really fancy. And years back, I actually brought in the lead statistician from the Mayo Clinic, and she runs all of their clinical trials. She's like the head statistician for all their clinical trials, and she mentioned, and she goes, well, I don't do anything other than a t-test and a binomial test. She goes, I don't do anything else. She goes, I spend like 1% of my time doing other things just so she can justify the need for having a PhD in statistics. You know, she's like, sometimes I just feel like I need to throw that in. So I feel a little bit better about myself, about the fact that I went to school for, 10 years after the fact that when I learned these tests. So, and we really do equate the difficulty of the stats with research, and for some reason those things tend to go together in students' minds, and to like separate that out and just make sure that because the right statistics done well is way better than some weird complicated thing that doesn't even matter and doesn't support your conclusion. So we really need to make sure that the students are aware of that aspect as well. So I'm gonna, let's see. Bill Murray's original Ghostbusters. Yeah. Yeah, Susie.
All right. We've had several people over the course of today asking about the videos. Will they be available? And so, yes, all the videos will be available separately. You can, in fact, go if you'd like to relive yesterday's workshop. It's actually all up there, all however many hours it is, on the YouTube channel, but we will be separating out the videos, and we will also be closed captioning them as well, so that those will be available in smaller bite-sized chunks. That'll probably take us a while, maybe a month or two, to get that all set up. So bear with us, but always please just email if you're like, oh, it's not there yet, what's going on. So we're here. The grant ends in August, and so this is our major deliverable. We thank you very much for coming to this, and we're hoping that after the videos get up on the YouTube in smaller chunks, that people will continue to visit them and also share them out. So we did have a couple of comments now in the chat, unless anybody had any other questions about the videos and the YouTube. All right, so the first was more of a comment about there's a major cure that has been being developed originally through the Howard Hughes Medical Institute called C-phages, and it has a discovery model, and it's found very effective for microbiology. Microbiology often starts with a discovery model, right? You know, what's on your shoe? What did your stinky brother leave on the doorknob? And so they said that found C-phages very, very effective. The students hunt for microbes and then describe them. And that is not a lot. That can be science as well, although it's a different type of science. Do you have any comments about that, Jen? No? Okay. Then there was another one. Let's see. Should we help guide students to an experimental design that can be easily analyzed? It seems like some of the more interesting questions may need different analysis.
I'll take that. So I think honestly, the reason why most of the things are guided towards the simple analyses is because I wanted to make sure that it was accessible to all biologists. I mean, anybody teaching the cure, because I mean, as my colleagues have disclosed, I mean, their stat knowledge isn't much, I try to limit it to something that they can assist with. I also equally, and I give that right back. I equally don't know anything know very, very little about biology. So, I mean, this is a two-way street here. So I'm not, but I try to limit it to things that the instructor could assist with. And I was just a little afraid of getting too far in the weeds beyond like a time series, something that would require a little bit deeper analyses. I don't think nothing ever forces them into something that is basic. It doesn't force them into it, but it does definitely lead them into a more basic design. The non-normal data, though, is part of the selection process, because in science, non-normal data is very, very common. And that's easily done. Actually, it's in construction in the app. It should be done in the next few months. But what to do with non-normal data is in there, like suggesting a log transform, because honestly, a log transform usually makes everything back normal anyway, or close enough. I mean, it's usually like a trial and error type thing when it comes down to there, but it is suggested in the little this basically a decision tree. Like, is it non-normal? Does the transformation work? If it does, transformation works, then repeat with the transform data, or go on to something like a Wilcoxon sign rank test, something that is for non-normal data, more rank data. So those are options, and they actually are already embedded in the workshop, but they tend to lead to more simple designs, just so we could more broadly give this to people without assuming any statistical background. But you're always more than welcome to suggest things based upon how comfortable you are with it.
Thanks. There was another comment here, which I think is really good. A third model is a method of development or evaluation cure. For example, students compare methods of isolating bacteria. Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well. I would almost say that the mouse cure that Dr. Brownell was describing yesterday is somewhat of a cure like that, right? A development or evaluation cure. They were doing a whole series of immunology tests on wild type mice with mutations that they didn't know what the immune system was going to look like. So, I mean, that's another type of cure. I think that there's a lot of different types of cures. We had wanted to add a quantitative aspect to our cure, as well as adding an interdisciplinary aspect of our cure, because we're in a school of mathematical and natural sciences and wanted to invite all students who wished to participate. And, in addition to our STEM majors, we also had other majors as well. So, I mean, I think it's been really very satisfying for me to be a part of this project. And I just wanted to thank my colleagues here on our virtual workshop who've worked extremely hard over the course of the 3-year grant and 2 no-cost extensions. One to develop the in-person workshop, and then the next one to develop the virtual workshop. And so hopefully this has been really helpful for you. We have about 20 more minutes for more conversations and more questions.
I did want to say before we break out, I wanted to say thank you to Pam Marshall for leading this project. She has been the most amazing, fearless leader. And I know I speak for the rest of my colleagues that this whole project has been her brainchild from the very beginning, and she's really kept us all in line too, which has been amazing. And this workshop would not have been even a tenth as good as it was now. I mean, with the addition of the professional video, I mean, these were all Pam's ideas, and a herd of Jen's. Yes, and a herd of Jen's. Pam and a herd of Jen's. So I did want to say a big, huge thank you to Pam for leading this project. She's been an amazing, amazing leader. So thank you.
Gosh, thanks. I think, if we were in person, we would be hugging each other and handing each other flowers and stuff, because I know nobody who's on the video call really wants to, know that this has been a long time coming, but it's been a very long process, because many of you had registered for the in-person conference last spring, and things, I mean, when March happened and we were pivoting, we were thinking, oh, well, we'll be back in person, and we'll just be back in person back in May. And then no. And then we're like, oh, let's just postpone the workshop to in-person workshop in August. And then things really started going downhill. And then it was like, oh, what do we do? So it's been a long time. All right. So we'll stop remembering that terrible past. We'll never speak of this again. Other questions about cures in general, or cures specifically? Oh, that was so nice. I'm so grateful that this was held virtually. Otherwise, I would have missed it. Yes, we are still under travel restrictions at ASU, and we still have real specific rules about how many people can meet and where they can meet. So, yeah, we're very, very grateful that you've been able to attend, and we've got lots of thanks. And so if you want more resources, if maybe there was something that we talked about that you can't find, just send us an email. And we need to make a huge, huge shout out to the production company, Anchor Productions, who was in charge of both this virtual workshop like this, as well as all of the pre-recorded videos. Without them, this would have been just us sitting around for 8 hours for 2 days on Zoom, all hating each other in life, frankly. Because I've been to some of those. And so without Adam Mariner and his crew, we really, I don't think, would have been prepared to give something like this. He's just really been amazing. And so they're local here in Phoenix, a small business. And so if you need any kind of production crew, it's Anchor Productions, and you can just email. Somehow we'll get a link to them on the website as well. So I don't see any more. Okay. Oh, here, can you speak to some of the outcomes you have seen from students that have taken the cures and move on to graduate school? Jen Broach.
The microbiome, not the microbiome paper that, but my two stat students, one of the original ones that were in the cure, did a microbiome project, and they presented it at a conference, a regional conference. It was a national conference, actually, I think, wasn't it? At any rate, they both went on to graduate school. One went on in psychology and learning science. The other one went on in hearing science. I've had multiple, and then the other stat students, the one that wrote the Mind Soils paper with Dr. Ken Sweat, she ended up going on to graduate school as well. And it's funny because I think that whole project changed the course of her career pursuit, because and that one's my favorite story. I mean, there's a couple other ones in grad school, but that are in grad school, and I think they were on that path. But this particular one with the Mind Soils, it was just a class for her, and she totally changed her career. She was actually in one of the she was in the financial field, and she had this huge sacrifice where she moved away from her family. I mean, she's a single mom with kids, and in definitely a different situation. And she moved away from her family and did this internship because she thought this was what was going to get her. It was at Wells Fargo, and she thought this was what was going to get her this major job. And turns out she wants to do, she wanted to work with plants, and she wanted to work in science, and it's really, really, really cool. So to see how much of an impact this class has had on students. So it's really, really amazing.
And we pulled some of the data we're starting to analyze. We're trying to wait until the very end, and it looks like we have a higher graduation rate than the typical ASU student.
Yeah, by almost 9%. Yeah, the graduation rate for our CURE students is about 9% higher, which isn't typical of the population that is because we have more minorities in the class. We have more Pell Grant recipients in the class. We have more of everything that typically is an indicator of lower graduation rates. So our expected graduation rate would be a lot lower than what the standard would be. And yet our students in the cures are higher than the standard. So I know it's not causal. I know we're getting these students that are I can't put a causal thing. I didn't randomly assign them to taking the cure. So I understand the ramifications of the statistics, but if you just go by what we would have expected from students that fall into these certain categories, it is significantly higher. So they are, and their responses on a graduate, we did a CURE alumni survey. Like the vast majority, like we're talking 90% and above, say that they've used the skills later, they use them to get a job, and they use them to get either a job or into graduate school. I mean, and it was astonishing, those numbers. So we have a lot of, I mean, no obviously causal support for that, but a lot of anecdotal and convincing evidence to show that they're using this class as a platform to move on in their career and move on in graduation.
Yeah, that data just got pulled last week, and I saw it and was like, wow, we really are making a difference. Oh boy, and to teach the cure, it's just us now, right? It was so much fun. It was so much fun, and it was so much work. But you just, when you're going through the thick of it, you just go, and then at the end of it, and then the students are there presenting their posters, and we had them do a poster and we didn't print them. They just had it on the screen and, kind of zoomed in and talked about it, and to have the students using the pronouns we and I, we thought this and we did this and we wanted to do this and this is what we saw. And every single one of those students had engaged. There was a question a while back about what to do if the students had what to do if the students hadn't engaged and how to get them to engage. And I can't answer that question because every single one of my students was engaged. So I think we'll, wrap up here. There was something about maybe trying to get back together later on. So when we send, maybe when we send, we can send a follow up. And we can maybe put out a Google Doc and see what we can do about that. So I'll kick it on to Jennifer Hackney Price for her conclusion.
I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, which is I am very thankful that you guys were all able to. It's not working.
Put the microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay, can you hear me? Awesome. So I just wanted to say thanks for attending. I think this was awesome, the interaction that we had, and I'm thrilled that you guys got something out of it, that we were able to address a lot of your questions. And again, thank you to Pam for spearheading the effort, and thank you for Adam for making this all come together in this format. So thanks to all.
All right. Thanks, Jen. So we do want to remind you that we'll be sending out the surveys. So don't forget to fill out your surveys. And now we'll hear from Jen Foltz-Sweat for her conclusion.
So I'm mostly going to echo what Jennifer said in that I'm really thankful to have worked on these cures and worked with the ASU group, because I think that it is such a valuable tool for inclusion and getting our students motivated in science. As for the workshop, again, very happy with the videos with Anchor Productions. I think it was awesome, and filming the videos was a lot of fun. So definitely thank you for that, and thank you everyone for attending. Okay.
Yeah, hi. So echo what everybody else has said, but I do want to say a special thank you to Pam, because and this is why. When I came to ASU, I was coming from a city crime lab. I didn't have a lot of academic experience, and she really was my unofficial mentor. You didn't know that, did you, Pam? Surprise! So when she asked me to be a part of this grant, I was very honored. I mean, like honored, like, wow, you're asking me to do this? And so I wanted to make sure I did a good job. And I think I did. And I think we all did a great job. I learned a ton from this, not only with experimental design, but working with people, working with my students, learning along with my students. And so now that I've transitioned away from ASU back to the crime lab, I miss the teaching aspect of it. So this allowed me to continue on with that. And it was wonderful to see everybody today. And hopefully we'll still keep seeing each other. And again, thanks to Adam and Anchor Productions for making everything fun. This was fun. So thanks.
Well, welcome to the end of the workshop. Of course, I'd like to echo a great thanks to my team, who made this one of the most incredible experiences. And yes, Pam's leadership was essential in making this as good as it was. And we must thank Anchor Productions. But really, let's get the focus back on you all. If I may, I want to give you the most hearty encouragement possible to bring this kind of experience to all of your classes. What all of us has said is true. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, because you don't know. You know, you can't tell your lab prep person what reagents you're going to need this semester. There is a lot of stress to it, but it's like a roller coaster. It's a lot of stress because it's a hell of a lot of fun. And to watch that spirit of discovery in your students, to watch their dedication is incredible. And so, honestly speaking, this is really, I suspect, what most of us got into teaching for, is watching our students having those moments of real revelation. And so I heartily encourage you with all my being, try these in your classes, whether it be a semester long or simply for one lesson. Try them, because they're incredibly powerful tools of education. Thank you.
I can never follow Ken Sweat. So I think with that, we will all sign off and say thank you so much, and we will be in touch. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.